Well, thank you very much. It's indeed good to be back home and in an academic environment. But I have to disappoint you if you think that companies are much about academic. So there's not that much academic thinking in companies going on as you might have hoped. But there's a lot of practical work going on. And eventually you can talk all you like about sustainable sourcing, about fair trade, but someone has to do it. And that's what I would like to take you through an example of, in this case, a coffee company that is taking sustainability very serious, has a strong relationship with organizations that certify coffees, in this case, fair trade, and the reasoning behind it, but also sharing some concerns and some questions, back to fair trade, back to the academic world, back to the Minister for International Development, but also back to you as consumers. So I know that I'm the one standing between this lecture and your break, so I'll get on with it quite quickly. First of all, I have to share with you the model that Starbucks uses, because otherwise it would be very hard to understand some of the choices that we've been making and some of the actions that we've been putting in practice. So for those of you who don't Starbucks that well, it's not all about lifestyle, as many people think. It actually started out as a very small company in the US, in Seattle in 1971, which was one store buying coffee, tea and spices across the world, trying to do that in the most sustainable way and sell it to local consumers. And ultimately they did something very, very revolutionary. They started to sell it by post order. Remind you that's 71. And it took the company until 1992 before they went to New York for a NASDAQ quote with 100 stores and 1,000 partners. And it's only 17 years ago. And in those 17 years, the company has grown relatively rapidly to 16,000 stores in 50 countries with more than 150,000 employees, which we call partners, because many of them have stock. The reason I'm sharing this story is not to brag, but is to tell you a story about a company that's grown so fast that it was very easy to lose track of your original values. And I'm proud to work for a company that didn't. So this is a company, even though they went through this tremendous growth curve, still stay true to that original belief that having a business doesn't necessarily mean that you cannot take care of each other and you cannot take care of the environment. And Starbucks has a very deep-rooted belief that it's ultimately our partners working for us, and particularly the ones working in our stores, and the farmers who grow that high-quality coffee that we serve to the consumers every day, that we need to take care of them in order to be a successful and ultimately also a sustainable business. So that's why Starbucks has ultimately developed a sustainability program, an umbrella if you like, that captures all the activities in ethical sourcing as well as in environmental stewardship and in our community connections, which we have called Starbucks Share Planet. Now, given the nature of this lecture, of course, I would like to focus on ethical sourcing. So if you allow me just a few words on what ethical sourcing means for Starbucks. So for us, ethical sourcing is a personal commitment, to that farmer that grows that high quality coffee every day under very difficult circumstances that we enjoy every day. And that means that, we do value the direct relationship with farmers. So Starbucks is one of the few coffee companies that takes pride in not buying coffee on the New York commodity market. The reason is that we do value the relationship, the direct relationship with suppliers, not just farmers, but also the traders and the coffee mills, etc. Because we believe that only that direct relationship makes it possible for us to find that high quality coffee, but also to help the farmers in growing that high quality coffee under the circumstances that we desire. So one of the most important things, of course, is paying the farmers the higher price for the high quality coffee that they grow. So in average, if you look over the last few years, Starbucks pays roughly 25 to 30% more than the New York C market. And we do that because we believe that ultimately the price helps that farmer to have a sustainable living. I'll come back to what goes even before price. It's also an idea about rewarding suppliers in a way that helps them create that sustainable living, and I'll explain to you in a minute what that means. And it's supporting the farmers through having farmer support centers in both Costa Rica and in Rwanda in East Africa, because ultimately we care for the farmers, not the ones only that grow the coffee right now, but also the ones that will be able to grow the high quality coffee that we demand in the future. And we know that helping the farmers in a direct way, providing them also with farmer loans that gets them through one harvest to another harvest, is critically important. So if we talk about rewarding suppliers that grow our coffee, it's very important to understand that that's not charity. We believe that the relationship with the farmer and helping them to grow that high quality coffee ultimately is the best way to sustainability. Because whether you're certified or not, whether you're fair trade or not, if this pineapple or that coffee isn't of the right quality, it is not sustainable. So quality comes first. Certification, in our opinion, comes next. So quality is critically important. So if you look at this model, you basically see 4 circles that are the core of our sustainability programs. So as said, quality is critically important. So we value all the farmers in the world, and we know there are more than 25 million of them. But actually we can only have a relationship with those farmers who grow that high quality coffee that we need to sell ultimately in our stores. So if you don't grow the high quality coffee that we demand, we don't have a business relationship. We may still be able to help you to get there, but we wouldn't have a commercial relationship. And even if you were able to grow that product quality, there's another very important element, and that's economic transparency. And here's the crux. So if we would have a direct relationship with each and every small farmer in the world, we would know exactly what we would be paying that farmer for a price. Now, unfortunately, most of the supply chains in the commodity world are a bit more complex. So actually, Starbucks, given its size, needs to source its coffee from different places in the supply chain. So sometimes it's directly from the farmer or the estates, but also many times it's from the mills, it's from the traders, it's from the exporters, it's even sometimes from importers. Now, if you buy your coffee higher up in the supply chain, then we pay a price to that trader, but we don't know anymore, where that money ends up in the supply chain. And if we ultimately want to be sure that the farmer receives the price that he or she deserves for that high quality coffee, economic transparency is critically important. So you will not have a Starbucks verification for your coffee if you do not comply with quality requirements and if you do not comply with economic transparency. Only then do we start to look into the social and environmental factors of growing the coffee. And that's ultimately also where our farmer support centers step in to help the farmers to step on a continuous development in those fields. So ultimately, our goal, as we have publicly stated, is to have all our coffee sourced in this way by 2015. And currently, that's 80%. And some say it's only 80%. So, where's the rest? Where's the 20? Where's the rest of your coffee? Well, typically from this picture, I hope you understand, that has nothing to do with the quality. So because we are buying that coffee, the quality, you can be rest assured, is okay. But if these two left ones, product quality and economic transparency, are prerequisites for getting our Starbucks Share Planet verification, and it's not the quality that's missing, it's the economic transparency. And back to the presentation from Gary, and to some extent the memo that Rob wrote, there are some governmental developments, particularly, for example, in East African countries, that do hinder economic transparency. And that would also be a question, of course, to our Minister for International Development. So does that play a role when you talk to those local governments, how they do or do not help support you in economic transparency? Because ultimately, it's critically important to know where the money ends up. Only then do we have a relationship that we believe will be on the path to sustainability. Now, as part of our ethical sourcing policy, we've always bought certified coffees. We have a relationship with fair trade already for more than a decade. Last year, with a renewed partnership that we undertook, we have promised to double the amount of fair trade certified coffee in 2009. And we know within 2 weeks whether we've made that or not, because our fiscal year has just ended, and rest assured that we have. And that makes us the world's largest purchaser of fair trade coffee in the world, with 40 million kilos. Now that's all, great, perfect, but still, if you realize that Starbucks only represents 2% of the world's coffee, so even though we're a big brand, we still only represent 2% of the world coffee. So there are 4 other players in our market that represent for more than 80%. So we do 2%, and we are the world's largest purchaser of fair trade. That's great for us, that's great for fair trade, but it also sends a message that there's a world to be gained by including bigger companies into this equation as well. So one of the things that we've talked about is quality. The other one is transparency. Those are the two prerequisites that we truly believe in as very important elements on the road to sustainability. But in terms of the relationship with fair trade or other certification programs, but again, we have a strong relationship with fair trade. We also believe that there is merit in trying to get mainstream traffic going. So only when you are able to make certified products or sustainability part of people's daily life, it will ultimately be sustainable and be growing. So that's why we have decided that as of March 2010, so that's next spring, all of the espresso-based beverages for Starbucks throughout all our stores in Europe will be fair trade certified. So that means that every latte, every cappuccino, every beverage that you buy at Starbucks will have a fair trade certification to it, which is, as we believe in the coffee industry, a major step forward because we're talking specialty coffee here. Then, last but not least, buying more fair trade coffee, trying to make it mainstream is one thing. That's all the stuff that you can do, on the stage. But there's also more work to be done. So that's why we believe that, just buying certified coffee, putting a stamp on your pack is not enough. Actually, what we are doing currently with the International Fair Trade Labeling Organization is looking in ways to double the amount of farmer loans that Starbucks has standing out and direct them directly towards fair trade co-ops, but also, very importantly, look into the opportunity to basically integrate the verification systems that we currently have. Because going to the farmer each and every time again with a new verification system, new requirements that they have to meet is very costly and very labor intensive for those farmers, and they can spend their time better doing something else. So that's also something that we are looking into, which makes the whole idea of a relationship run much, much deeper than just buying fair trade certified coffee and again put a stamp on it. If you want to know more about the Starbucks programs, please have a look at our website under the Shared Planet logo. And I would like to round it up by, and because I know I'm between you and the break, by saying there's something that you as a consumer can do as well. So there's always a lot of discussion about why does Starbucks coffee have to be that expensive? Why do we have to pay $3.50 or €3.50 for a latte? I hope that after this presentation, and we could have gone on forever about the social element as well, that you understand better why coffee has a price, sustainable coffee has a price. So I urge you that the next time you buy a product, and ideally you buy a cup of coffee that has a Starbucks logo on it, you don't only look to the value of that cup, the price that you're paying, but you're primarily looking to the values in the cup, because that, we believe, is what it's all about. Thank you.